Hey, it's y'all again. What's up? I knew y'all'd be back. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Yeah, you know, we have the Sinquefield Cup currently rolling. So I have the Wesley So and Nepomniachtchi game taking out round number 4. And this is actually a very exciting game. Personally, it has one of my most favorite mentioned in-game, kind of like ideas in it. So stay till the end, homie. But all my people that are coming from the Philippines, I would say Maraming Salamat. Anybody coming from Russia, I would say Bolshoye Spasiba. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, son. All right, so we got knight to f3. The worst move. No, I'm playing. You're like, is it really that bad? No, it's good. But it is kind of like a waiting move. You know, Wesley So was like, bro, you know, what are you going to do, Jan? What are you bringing to the table? So we do see the move d5. Very common way to play against knight to f3. We got the move e3. We do see knight f6. We got c4. And then we do see the move e6. And we have what is known as the Agincourt defense of the English opening. But it has a lot of similarities to Queen's Gambit declines positions. Basically, you just need a d4. But if you want to stay in true c4 fashion, which Wesley So decides he wants to do, we do see the move b3. We got bishop e7, bishop to b2. And I mean, if you noticed it like I noticed it, bishop to b2 is a very beautiful move. You see this pawn chain right here. It's a long one, but it gives you a very, very nice diagonal to put your bishop on. So nice, in fact, that black decides that they want to try to do that as well. We'll see that later. We got castles by black. We got knight to c3. We got c5. You know that white probably at some point is going to have to play d4. If they're going to say, hey, man, I got an advantage. You know, my position is great. D4 really kind of has to come. So fighting that before it even lands on the board, kind of like Dr. Evil, you know, giving you a shh. You know, that's a preemptive shh. Yes, exactly. We do see the move c5, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, and then you guessed it, d4, like I said, it had to come at some point. And we kind of have like Queen's Gambit decline, Taraj type territory. We got knight to e4, and the crazy thing about this move is the commentators are really kind of acting like this was such a rare move, but I'm like, bro, it's like one of the suggested moves. So it's not actually that rare. If it's strong enough, you got to be prepared against it, homie. So we do see pawn taking c5. We got bishop going to f6. Like I said before, black is definitely trying to say, hey, bro, you take that diagonal, I take that diagonal. And currently, white's bishop is undefended on b2, so you kind of have to be a little bit careful. We do see knight going to d4, just trying to block all that down. Basically, white is trying to make sure that they can get castled first before this bishop really becomes a problem. But Jan is like, bro, I'm not going to try to let you get castled, bro, if I can help it. So right now, we have a lot of pressure. Not that one. We have a lot of pressure on this c3 knight. So kind of how do you want to respond to that? We do see rook to c1, just making sure we're covered. Knight does come to c6. So you see that with all of black's moves, they are putting a lot of pressure on white's position. But white is good for the moment. We do see bishop to e2. Wesley really needs to get castled. You definitely don't want to stay in the center for a very long time. So Wesley So understanding that, he's like, bro, I gotta get out of dodge. So we do see knight taking on c5. Knight takes c6. We got pawn taking c6. And then we finally see white castling. And what does Jan Nepomniachtchi do? He says, bro, I'm going to add some like wood to the fire. You know, we did have a lot of pressure on this knight here. So you do see the thumbnail basically coming in. All eyes are on this knight. And like I said, this bishop is undefended back here. So, you know, you kind of put white in a pickle. So we do see queen going to c2. It does extra take care of this knight on c3. And it does hold this bishop on b2. So everything is everything right now. Knight takes, we got bishop taking, queen taking. And you could very easily just take here on c3 with the queen. But why do that when you can grab a pawn? Let's grab a pawn, homie. I mean, you know, white is grabbing a pawn. They are also attacking this bishop right here. But white has a really good way to defend it. And it is just simply rook to c2. And you're like, you're not doing any of that stuff that you just said a second ago. We do see queen going up to a3. You kind of got to get out of there, man, because rook to a1 is absolutely coming. So you do kind of have to make sure that you are not losing your queen. So that is why we see queen to a3. We got rook to a1. Like I said, queen goes back to e7. So white has kind of got in there, or black has kind of got in there and got out. You got to make sure you're doing that, bro. Queen takes c6. So we have now gotten our pawn back. And then we do see bishop going to e6. And this is just a regular developing move, but it is kind of putting white in a little bit of a pickle. You do have to be very careful with this rook here on c2, because if you do get attacked with, like, let's say rook to c8, you don't have anywhere that you can put the queen that links back up with this rook. So you would be dropping your rook for free. So some type of move has to be made to take care of that. We got queen going to c5. We got queen taking c5, rook taking c5. We got the rook f to c8. So with a little bit less oomph on this one. And then we do see rook c to a5. And I know you guys probably were sitting there thinking, like, when is he going to talk about the novelty? It's literally now, 23 moves into the game, we see the novelty of the game. It's crazy. You don't usually ever go that far before you see the novelty, but we do. There's a lot of legitimacy to this move, because you're just like, hey, bro, I see a pawn. I want to grab a pawn, bro. So, but you do have to be careful, because there are some back rank issues. So you do see white acting accordingly. So we do see rook a to b8, and then bishop goes down to d1, trying to block the back rank. But at some point, you're going to have to move a pawn or something, bro, because you are not looking that great. We do see d4, pawn takes d4, bishop takes b3. And like I said, you still have to be careful because of all of the pressure that you have on your back rank. But we do see rook taking a7 now, bishop takes d1, rook takes d1, and then we do see the really, really beautiful rook to c2. And rook to b2 is actually coming also. So you do have some back rank issues, really, if you're both players. But this rook coming down here, tickling this pawn, it can really put you in a very defensive mode. Black cannot do it yet because, like I was telling you, got back rank issues. So we do see both players do the same thing, g3, g6. Just making sure that you can move forward and you don't have any worries of getting back rank mated, because even these players, they have problems getting back rank mated also. They are just like us. They're just rated like 1,000 points higher, or like whatever it is. I mean, you know. We do see rook going up to d3, and this is actually a really nice idea because you are trying to meet rook going down to b2 with rook to f3, and this actually counterattacks at the same time as much as it defends also. So, I mean, you are doing pretty good. We actually see rook c to b2 in this position. But like I said, if you saw rook b to b2 saying, I'm just going to crash in and there's nothing you can do about it, Wesley's going to be like, hey, bro, I can do something about it, homie. Who do you think I am? Who do you think I be, bro? Anyways, like I said, we do not see that. We got rook c to b2. So we do see king to g2. Rook 8 goes to b3. We are very much trying to shake this rook from the defense of this pawn. You actually, if you are Wesley, so you are in an ideal situation because this rook is behind this pawn. And that is absolutely where you want your rook to be if you do have a passed pawn. So Jan Nepomniachtchi, recognizing that, he's like, hey, bro, I'm going to force you to get rid of your rook. And I mean, you can possibly go down a situation like this, but you are just going to continuously harass this rook and either go into a draw situation or make it sacrifice itself for the rook. So we do actually see rook going to f3. We got rook taking, we got king taking, and then we do see king down to g7. And black has successfully pushed white's rook away. So ideally, if we are white, we're going to try to maybe kind of come back and do something like this as well. But it stands to be seen if you can actually do that. We do see g4. We got the move h6. We don't want white to make too much progress with their pawns. And then we do see rook to e7. And the reason why this move is made, I will kind of bring up in a little while. It'll be a little bit better of a illustration. We do see rook going to d2, getting behind that pawn. We got king over to e3. We got rook down to d1. And then we do see rook to e4. And in this position, white is just a little bit stuck. They really, really want to create a situation where they're pushing this pawn and they can kind of throw the rook in the way, but they actually are tied down at the moment. So they kind of have to find counterplay somewhere else. After we see king to f6, which is really what you want to do, we do see the move h4. And what I was telling you guys before, you know, this rook is actually cutting this king off completely from this side of the board. So even though you have made a little bit of progress going king to f6, you really can't go anywhere else. You see that pretty much on all these squares. The king is kind of stalemated, bro. You only really can go back to g7, so you don't want to do that. We do see the move rook to a1, and we actually see the king going to d3 as white. And we have actually reached a position where black has an only move. they're in a significantly worse position, but there is one move that you can play that kind of gives black a little bit of hope. If you want to pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, so like I just got done telling you guys a second ago, I mean, you're cut off pretty much everywhere, man. So what can you try to maybe do to create a situation where you are giving yourself a little bit of breathing room? The move is actually H5. If you guess H5, congratulations. You're wanting either, you know, to force white to push their pawn forward to try to give yourself access to F5, or just trade here and then you got access to F5. So one of the things you should notice, or you need to recognize as black, is that the white is trying to creep itself around here to try to give this pawn the ability to continue to push without the rook, but also make the rook kind of come and block any of rook's you know, attacks from the back. So understanding that white is trying to do that, you do kind of want to give yourself the ability to go F5, so that way king going over is not immediately possible because the rook is just going to drop. So it gets kind of deep. It's crazy because a lot of people probably look at the position and they're like, oh, this is boring. Like, there's really nothing going on. This is a rook endgame. But there are a lot of subtle things that you kind of have to understand and know. And, I mean, there can be a lot of life even in these kinds of positions. But we do not see that. We actually see rook going to A2, which is kind of an artificial attack because it really doesn't attack F2 because you just see the move F3 and the pawn is really kind of out of danger. You're good to go. We do see rook going to A3 with check, but we kind of just do what we were trying to do anyway, and we don't really worry about the F3 pawn because everything is completely centered around this pawn right here. So Wesley's like, bro, you can take my F3 pawn, which he does. He says, thank you for the gift. But we do see the move D5, and we are dealing with something right now, which is basically the idea is building the bridge, but it's part of the Lucina position as far as rook endgames are concerned. It's better illustrated a little bit later, so I will talk about it in a minute. We do see rook going over to A3. We got the rook up to E8. We see rook down to A1. You're trying to give yourself as much distance as possible to check from behind. We do see the move D6. We got the rook back to D1, but we do see king going to C5. And like I said, you are consistently using this rook to cut off the black king, but you are using this king to aid in this pawn's advance. And at some point, you will build a bridge again. We do see the move H5 now, but it doesn't quite have the same oomph to it. We do see G5 with check, and this forces the king. You can always go back to G7, but I mean, like neither move really is great. But I mean, you know, you can just kind of pick which one you want to play. We do see king to F5. We got rook down to E2. And this has a very specific idea behind the rook going here. The king does go to F4, and we do see king to C6. Now, in either position, once we get down here, in either position right here, if the king wants to try to go over and attack our pawn, we simply have rook to E4 with check. If the king goes down here in similar fashion to try to, you know, catch the pawn, we do still have rook to E4 also. And that is basically our main idea with our rook staying here. And not going anywhere else. But we do see king going to F3. We got rook sliding over to C2. Now, we are not cutting the king off as much with this move, but we still kind of have that rook idea as well. We just are going to have it a little bit farther away, but it still is legitimate. We do see rook going to D4. So Jan, recognizing that Wesley So is trying to still get that idea, he is trying to go rook to D4 to prevent the move right there. But we actually have the move D7, and we are ever closer to getting this king, this queen. We got king over to G3, and then we actually see rook to C5, and it is in this position that Jan Nepomniachtchi resigns the game. There is nothing further that you can do here. We have built what we call the bridge. Basically, I mean, you're just going to have to kind of kill a move some kind of way with black. Like, you know, so let's say, for example, you go down like here or something like that. You got rook to D5. And this is the bridge that is mentioned in Lucina endgames. You basically have now used the king's position to protect the pawn. And you are also protecting this rook. And you also now don't have any access to preventing the pawn from queening. So it really doesn't matter what you do. I mean, you can always throw in a spy check if you want to, but the king is just going to kind of like come this way. The king can just start to run away now because you have your rook in the correct position that you need for it to be. And there's no way for black to stop any of these pawn moves. So that is that. All of my people in the Philippines, maraming salamat, the king ba kaibigan. posting on Inga King my video. Anybody coming from Russia, Bolshoye Spasiba. And I'll see you guys next time.